To do this problem, it says which of the following numbers is an imaginary number. Now, remember what we talked about imaginary and complex numbers. Imaginary numbers have that I, that little tiny I that stands for imaginary. Now, remember, the way that you get imaginary numbers is by square rooting a negative number. So the square root of a negative number, for example, the square root of -4. The square root of 4 is 2, and then the negative square root would become an I. So this would be considered an imaginary number. So just by knowing the definition of imaginary and what that kind of means when it comes to numbers, this is going to make this problem a whole lot easier. Well, -3 squared, that's not going to be imaginary. I'll get a positive or a negative number. -5 squared is a positive 25. The square root of 5 is just a positive number. Now right here we have the square root of -49, which is the same thing as the square root of 49 times the square root of -1. So the square root of 49 is 7, the square root of -1 is I, and that represents my imaginary number. Now looking at option E, notice how the negative is outside of the square root, which means I would just solve this like normal. Negative and then square root of 36 is 6. So I will not be getting an imaginary number with E. However, when the negative is underneath a square root by definition, that's what an imaginary number is. So the correct answer is D.